That's what I was doing, so I understand.
All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Discussing Tabletop for February 25th. It's episode 17. Hope everybody's having a great day. It's been a pretty decent week for us. We'll, of course, talk about a little bit about the channel in the week when it comes to the end of the day. But for now, today I have, of course, myself, Cantus and Dracovin, your ever-present host. And, of course, my main ever-present guest, of course, Joe.
Hey, everyone.
All right, so today on the docket, why don't we just dive right into it? We have some talking about the Modern Masters information. Modern Masters and Amonkhet packaging has been released, plus some information of like full art basic lands, some pieces of art, and previews of the special Planeswalker decks, Planeswalker cards. Moving on from there, we do have some mixtures of Dungeons and Dragons and can I get that? I can't get that glare off my glasses. Dungeons and Dragons and Magic the Gathering, with, of course, Planeshift Kaladesh has been released. We do have some board game news talking about Assault of the Giants, the new D&D board game. An interesting one, actually, from how it's been taken. I do want to talk a little bit about the Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective news. They've released a Jack the Ripper expansion. It's a very interesting that it can be a standalone game for the Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective game. So, interesting little thing there. And I do want to finish out briefly today by talking a little bit about, and yes, this is an interesting one, the Pokemon trading card game. They've updated their rules, and they changed a condition. So I do want to talk a little bit about changing conditions or abilities on cards when it comes to transitioning between sets, because we have seen some of that in things like Magic the Gathering, which we're much better at quoting here, but you're actually talking about any game doing it. That's what I want to sort of talk about with that. And then, of course, we have stories from the table and gaming sage advice. So why don't we start off, of course, with the information from Modern Masters and Amonkhet. We can start a little bit about Modern Masters. We know from the pictures on the sets, I can't identify the one character, but we know Griselbrand and Dormy Raid are in there. Or Griselbrand, he's from the first Innistrad, and Dormy Raid's from the Return to Ravnica. So, is this Modern Masters, because of the pictures on it, is it implying that we're going to be more actually modern? Like the current sort of blocks of sets? That's my question about that. Is that sort of what it's going to be focusing on more than slightly older cards, which traditionally it seems like Modern Masters has been more of? Granted, I feel like they've still been more, in quotations, the modern set of Magic, but I do find it is the modern times and the Masters editions catching up to like when I started playing Magic again? Does it make it feel like it's old?
Well, we are getting old.
But that's beside the point. I find it interesting. A little trick there. And I swear I've seen the guy with the scar and the lightning before, but I can't not remember him for the life of me. The main guy in the packaging. I probably could look this up. That's probably something I can do.
I am not sure. I'm not the best at remembering character names / card names.
That's true. I mean, it is tricky to sort of figure that out. Excuse me. Yeah. Oh, it's, okay. So, the other one is Stoic Angel, is the angel character.
Okay.
Which, if I can get this thing over here, I can see a little bit more about it. Stoic Angel. Oh, it's from Alara block. Okay, so that's a little older. I wouldn't remember that off the top of my head.
Wow.
They don't say who. Oh, an unknown card is the main art on the booster box. Okay, cool. So we don't actually know who he's supposed to be. Yeah. I don't know. It seems interesting. How modern is it really? That's a good question. Modern Masters.
Right.
All right, but why don't we move quickly on from that to the thing I really want to talk about, the Amonkhet information and packaging. First off, we have seen what all the boosters is, the 5 boosters, the pre-released box, the fat pack. That's all, interesting information, but, I mean, it doesn't really show you a lot. They show us the basic look of the Planeswalker decks, which is going to be Gideon and Liliana, and we have pictures of what those special versions of their cards will look like. No information at all what their abilities are, but if we've learned from the previous sets in their Planeswalker decks, we know that there's going to be another version of Gideon and another version of Liliana in the actual set, though. From this.
Right.
So I think that's cool. We know two of the Planeswalkers from there.
Ooh. Bolas, God of Amonkhet, is a Planeswalker and enchantment.
What?
According to the one card I'm seeing here online, I don't know, it's in pictures, so I don't know if it's 100% correct or not. But I'm seeing Bolas, God of Amonkhet, Planeswalker, and enchantment.
Let me see, because I haven't seen any of the spoilers. They actually might have spoiled it.
Indestructible as long as your devotion to black, blue, and red is less than 7. Bolas, God of Amonkhet, isn't a planeswalker and can't use its secondary ability. +2, draw a card, then target opponent loses 2 life. -4, gain control of target permanent.
I don't know if that's real because there are no spoilers from Amonkhet out.
Okay.
So that might be just something someone came up with.
Okay. I wasn't sure. That's why I said, I'm not sure if this is true or not, but...
Oh, there's a lot of cards people come out with that are custom things. The amount of custom Magic cards, the thing is, as someone that has to, get a lot of images together for Magic cards, there are insane amounts of them.
Yeah.
I don't think we're actually going to see Nicol Bolas until Hour of Devastation, though. I think that's really when we're going to see him. Whatever version of card is going to be. They might do something similar to that, though, because there are these gods in Amonkhet, which is something I did want to talk about a little bit. So, yeah, okay. Full art boosters, or full art lands, are going to be in 1 in every 4 boosters. That's cool.
And who doesn't love full art lands?
I know, it's pretty awesome. But each of them feels different, but has this kind of similar feel, too. Because each of them feels like a little bit of, the terrain. But they all have those, the horns of Nicol Bolas in the background, too. Which means it kind of gives this interesting feel to it.
Oh, yeah, I'm seeing one of the red full art lands. I don't know if it's, I don't know if it's 100% accurate, but if it is, it looks pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. They also have a bunch of art that they've released. Picture of Gideon, a picture of Liliana, which I've seen a larger picture of this one, that she's being served by mummies. You can't see it there.
Oh, yeah, I see the one you're talking about.
Yes. The picture of Nissa, the thing is, I did hear some complaints about this, very interesting, that they're showing Nissa, is will they give her a card, though? Because we already have, technically, 3 of her cards in Standard. Do they need a 4th?
Right.
Now, the only thing I have to say about that is, we've seen in Kaladesh, Jace and Liliana, and I don't think either of them had cards in Kaladesh, in the block itself.
Right.
So very easily, I think we could skip over both of them. We could not have Nissa. She could be involved in it, so of course you're going to have some maybe art of her involved in it. Maybe. But
she might not be a main player.
She might not have a card related to whatever she's doing. Or she might be on, non-Planeswalker cards if she's doing something.
Right.
They also have the 5 gods of Amonkhet, which apparently people really like the cat one or something. The cat one looks like has mummy wrappings or something, which I've heard speculations that that's more like the death god.
Okay.
Because each one seems to be matched to a color. Like the cat seems white, the ibis god seems blue, the crocodile I feel like could be black. Is that like a jackal or something is red, and snake is green.
Jackal, definitely a jackal.
Though that's also assuming that they're monocolored too. We're not sure.
Yeah.
We know that they're going to be important. We're assuming they're going to have some kind of card form because we've seen the cards, the god cards in Theros. But the question of what it is, we don't know. I definitely like the art style of it because we haven't seen any kind of anything from like more of like Egyptian slash more, I guess, ancient like Middle Eastern motif, really. I mean,
no, it definitely is very studied. It did a great job with it.
Mm-hmm. We can only hope they reflect that in cards then too.
Yeah.
Of course, we do have the packaging for archenemy Nicol Bolas too, which, I mean, as someone that played the original archenemies, I can respect that. I never really dived into it that much, but I think because of the nature of whatever this is, it's a good excuse for this, you know?
Right.
Because the packaging looks like Amonkhet of the archenemy Nicol Bolas box. And you can see Sandra on there, and I have doubts that they're going to have a card for Sandra too. After the two that they had of her, it's like yes, I think they're not going to go any farther in standard, because they have like two versions of Planeswalkers with the new Planeswalkers decks. I think we're going to maybe hit 3 at most in standard for anyone. I have high doubts that they would ever go beyond that. Because it gets crazy. You don't want just so many different copies of the same thing.
Yeah.
Because you can't have them all out at the same time. They're technically the same Planeswalker, different powers. I mean, it's
exactly.
So it's looking pretty good for this stuff. I'm definitely going to be interested in see how they take the gods of Amonkhet on. What format they're going to take. If they're going to be similar to the gods of Theros or something completely different. I'm hoping completely different because the gods of Theros were interesting. They have having the devotion and there being indestructible enchantments. But I almost get the feeling that they were enchantments because they were connected to the dream realm of Nyx.
Right.
Which they don't have that in Amonkhet. We haven't seen that. So they might still have some abilities that are pretty ridiculous, but I just don't think it's going to be the same. Well, I'm drinking a lot today. All right. So why don't we move on, though? We got a little discussion on this. There's so much more to see on this, and spoilers.
Yeah, there's still a lot of information to come out for it.
And the fact is, spoiler season's not that far away, because Amonkhet comes out. What date? Oh, I'm not sure off the top of my head. Let's find out when Amonkhet comes out. That's a good thing. Oh, it's going to be released in April. Alright, so spoiler season should begin mid-March. So a couple weeks from now. Because then it'll ramp up. They'll start giving a few of them mid-March, and by then, the beginning of April, they should start doing a lot more spoilers over the couple weeks up to it. I think that's usually how it works, so... Up until the pre-release, at least, on the 23rd.
Right.
/ 22nd. So, cool. Looking very good. Looking very... I'm definitely looking forward to seeing more on this block. It looks interesting. I'm interested to find out more about its mechanics, too. Why don't we move on, though, and look at Planeshift Kaladesh? Because I think we talked a little bit about this before with Planeshift Innistrad, but not a lot, because it was out, I think, before we really had our shows. Because I also did... I think they did Innistrad and they did Zendikar, too. that effectively it gives the rules for integrating a magic setting into D&D. That's really all it does. You know, it's specifically designed to do that. It's made that it's made to just be mainly setting based stuff. You know,
Right.
so I have had a chance to like kind of look through it, and they do talk about like the two organizations. They talk about, you know, how backgrounds would be affected by being in Kaladesh. They do kind of mention stuff about the various classes, where you'd find them, what kind of areas you would be. It's sort of like they say like rangers and druids in Kaladesh are elves because they're the ones that can harness that power. Yeah, and like wizards are incredibly rare because most of the time, most of them go into like more science-based things, you know, more than magical.
Right.
Monks are pretty much unknown unless you're from like a remote area where a monastic order might be found. It's very interesting that like they can set up like where things were. That I guess rogues are pretty common, especially arcane tricksters. Oh, but they're persecuted like mages, though. But
No.
I know. Seems like, you know, it's like there's a lot of classes that are like you're probably not going to have a lot of characters in the universe be a class. Is almost what they're saying, you know.
Right.
Very interesting that way. They do talk about, of course, Aether devices and using them, which is cool. And like inventing things. They give some rules for inventing a little bit too, and how you can go into them. And of course, they do give some invention options, which are cool, and talk about a campaign there. If you want to follow like the storylines of the sets, or do something else entirely. Because apparently there's a lot of flavor to the world. It actually is a really interesting world that they've developed here, and it's giving just this little bits of information. Because also the cool thing is they give all the races. You know, they give all the rules for playing any of the main races. Aetherborn, dwarfs, elves, humans of Kaladesh, the Videlkin. I find it really interesting, you know, that they have all the full. I like all the different races. That's one of my favorite things about it is like interesting different races, and they even like for humans it's pretty much the same thing as it's always been, but you know, it's just,
Humans are humans.
yeah, it's true. I also like to give some monsters too. That's always fun, and talk about other types of monsters. You want to fight a Sky Leviathan? It's CR10.
Sure, why not?
Yeah, that seems like a terrible thing to battle against. No, I like it. I feel like trying out some games using the system might be pretty cool to do.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting to see them, you know, combining their two main, you know, their two main things into one. It makes sense.
The thing is, this is very subtle. You might say like, oh, it'd be interesting to put D&D into Magic, but that's harder to do because they already have an established universe.
Right.
When we talk about Dungeons and Dragons, where the concept of multiverses and vastly different universes exist, which you may never be able to explore another version of, it fits in much better. So I think this is the direction that should be taken, more so than the other direction. Not to say that it wouldn't be cool to have, like, you know, a D&D flavored set, but I just don't think that would happen for the nature of things.
Right. No, I mean, you could do like a one-off set, maybe. That it's like like a pocket universe, but I don't think you could easily mesh it into a regular thing.
No, because it has its own pre-established settings, and It's sort of like taking in the pre-established settings and using the pre-established settings of Dungeons and Dragons. It's the difference. Is that like with taking it from Magic and putting it in D&D, you're making up a new world setting because D&D is so you're able to make your own world settings very easily and often. While like, you know, something like putting in Magic, you're trying to mash them together rather than using it as its own thing.
Right. You can incorporate things into D&D a lot easier because there's room for world building.
Yeah. Which there sort of is for Magic, but not to the same degree because it's like everything still sort of gels together.
Right. That's why I'm saying like, it could be like a one-off, but it wouldn't be a plane you'd probably revisit. Or characters you'd probably revisit on another plane.
Mm-hmm. I could see something interesting like maybe using like one of the demi-planes of Dread. Not Strahds or something as a point for it. But then again, that might have a feeling a lot like Innistrad, so I don't know if they would do that.
Right.
But it'd be a cool connecting point, I think. But we'll see. We'll see what they do next. I mean, we already know they're doing Amonkhet, but I'm not sure what they're doing after that. So that's going to be something that we're going to have to see. If they're going to revisit a world, which I have heard some interesting discussions on revisiting worlds, talking about that. So apparently, there's certain worlds we probably will never see again because of financial problems with them. Including, probably Kamigawa. We'll see it indirectly. Like when they were telling the storyline of Tamio and Ajani in various points in time during the Magic storyline. Tamio's from Kamigawa. In one of the Magic storylines, Ajani Goldmane went and visited Tamio in Kamigawa to recover, from some problems he had.
Right.
That is like the big thing of what we're going to see of it, apparently. Just because of that, it was just not financially great at the time. So, yeah. Makes me a little sad, just because I liked the style of it, even though I never played it. Like, directly.
Right.
It had some interesting ideas, even though confusing mixture of story and it's like everything was never so great on it, and I think that's a problem. Though I think I did see an interesting discussion on it that maybe, like, doing even something like you're doing commanders or planes chase decks where they're based around a plane, and just do cards for them, make their own cards and maybe a few reprints.
Right.
I thought that would be an interesting idea. Then you could revisit some of those like financially terrible ones, yet still have like, oh, this is the theme deck of this, or something like that.
Right.
Anyway, well, so yes, but Planeshift Kaladesh you can get now. You can technically get Planeshift Zendikar, and I believe Planeshift Innistrad too. So you can get any of these to play, basically using these worlds in your D&D games. Let me see if there's the Innistrad one. There is a Planeshift Innistrad. It was printed in Dragon Magazine, apparently. Or with Dragon Magazine. Or the online version of it, from what I can tell. So you have it. Yep, they do it. I found it. Probably should, like, save these. That'd be useful.
Useful? Why would you do something like that?
I know, I'm crazy. I just don't do useful things, usually. It's usually just insanity incarnate for whatever actions I do. But let's then move on, though, because we do want to talk about the new Dungeons & Dragons board game, because it's sort of moving on from that same talking point. The Assault of the Giants is out. So this is an interesting one, because rather than being the heroes and stuff, you're playing as groups of giants. You're commanding giants to assault settlements to score points and secure important resources, including food, treasure, ore, and runes. Each of you takes on a type of giant, and each of them have a special agenda based upon their race. Like, they give some examples here, like storm giants seek to restore their lost monarch, cloud giants seek an ancient dragon treasure trove, hill giants seek an abundance of food which defeat their massive monarch. These are very interesting, definitely.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting to see them expand upon, go into more of the villainous thing, which, you know, even in campaigns you don't see a lot of.
It's true.
So it's nice to visit the darker side at times.
Yeah. And I like the fact that it's like each of them is a different type of giant, too. So it's like you command one of the 6 types of giants to rule over all giants. Are you the best giant there is? Giant, giant. Giant, 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 giant. Sorry.
My giants are always bouncing?
Sure.
Yay!
That sounds terrible.
No, it definitely seems like it'd be an interesting game to try out. You know, it's kind of like a mini campaign being the villains, and it's villains fighting villains, in a way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Granted, I don't know if they'll have some kind of like hero-based things to interfere with your characters less their characters to interfere with the players,
right?
Because again, we only have some basic information about it, some reviews about it, and I don't have a physical copy yet because it just came out the past week. So,
How dare you not go out and buy it right away?
Well, currently there's a standard edition and a premium edition. The standard edition has 12 giant miniatures, injection molded with color, appearing from approximately 60 millimeters to 90 millimeters in height, and 3 giant slayers. So there are giant slayers.
Okay.
Oh,
I just love the oxymoron of giant miniatures.
I know.
I'm a giant miniature. What?
Well, the premium edition apparently has 12 fully painted giant miniatures.
Ooh.
And 3 giant slayers.
Are the other ones half painted?
No, I think they're just colored. They're colored like molds or something, you know. So they're just like.
They should be half painted. We only painted their pets.
Okay.
I don't know why. Are they wearing pants or loincloths? That was the question.
I think it depends on the type of giant you're talking about. If you're talking about a hill giant, I'm pretty sure they're very loinclothy. While on the other hand, if you're talking about like something like a storm giant or a fire giant, they're very clothed-based.
Are you saying hill giants are a little more like Dr. Manhattan?
Yes. Oh, okay, here we go. There are storm giants, cloud giants, fire giants, stone giants, frost giants, and hill giants.
Ooh, frost giants.
Yes. They seek.
I have an affinity for them.
Yes, they seek a powerful artifact called the Ring of Winter. Of course they do.
Isn't that what you froze one of the hells with?
It totally is. Yep. He lands the blanket of the world of snow and ice to prove the frost giant's rightful place as head of the ordning. Okay, interesting. Yep. Wow, wait a second. Chief Gruul of the Hill Giants believed that giant size is only quality defines greatness. So Guh has married all the male hill giants in her tribe in Grudig Hog and commands her husbands to bring her food. Lots and lots of food. Okay, great. That's hill giants in a nutshell. Oh my god.
Give me food.
Yeah. That's pretty terrible. But it looks interesting that you basically have tokens, leaders, things like that. I just basically looking over the rules without reading through them a lot. It looks like it'll be a fun game. We should definitely try it out sometime.
Yes, agreed.
Don't know if we'd try. We should really try some board games out or something on stream if we can figure out a good way of doing it.
And a time to actually do it.
Oh my god, yes. There's plenty of awesome board games.
We own plenty of awesome board games.
Oh, that's true. Oh, sorry, everybody. I'm yawning a little bit. Just, both me and Joe are bad at getting sleep in proper amounts.
Well, our game last night didn't end until
1?
1. Yeah.
And then I tried to do work when I got home. Of course I did.
And I watched YouTube.
Of course you did. But Assault on Giants is out now. You can pick it up probably in local stores or ordered online. Both are options.
Options? Who wants options?
So let's move on and talk about the Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective game and its new expansion, Jack the Ripper and the West End Adventures. So apparently there's this... Okay, so this thing I think I've seen this before, but never really looked into it. The Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective, which you're basically going on an investigation, and each turn a player takes the role of lead investigator, and there's discussions on things, and you, like, basically, there's, like, a whole pile of what looks to be adventures that you're going to go on and, like, go to places, find information, find clues, that sort of thing. The object of basically solving the case.
Right.
Alright, so that's... Okay, cool. Sherlock Holmes game. And it seems like a very interesting one, based more around, like, discussion. Which I like. That does seem very cool.
Yeah, no, it definitely seems interesting. I mean, Sherlock Holmes, I guess I can speak, it would be definitely an interesting, type of board game, I think. So I would look forward to trying something like that.
Mm-hmm. And apparently, like, the booklet, each location, it tells you, like, locations you can visit, and when you visit them, you find information out, things like that, and you keep developing the story and clues until you figure everything out. But what I wanted to talk about is very interesting because they did an expansion in the West End and Jack the Ripper, which is really an interesting mixture of things, I thought.
Oh, I completely agree. I would love to see how Sherlock Holmes would solve the Jack the Ripper case.
Granted, we're taking this on in a very interesting way since it is like like a standalone expansion to the Sherlock Holmes thing. Because I think what it is like it's more not missions? No, not missions. What's the proper word for it? Cases? Cases.
Yes.
It's more cases. So yeah, it's like, and the way that the entire thing is set up, it provides its own map, so it really is standalone because each one has a map and booklets of cases. So there really isn't a lot to the entire setup. You know, it's like have a booklet, have a bunch of booklets. Each one's a case. Have a map. It marks off like these locations. There you go. They do the same thing with the West End. So it's like choose an adventure. Here's the stuff you need for it.
Right.
So we could technically, if we wanted to, get it on its own.
That would be cool. I'd even try it just like that.
Yeah. You don't need to dig it into another box to dig into this one, they say.
Yay!
But it does recommend you're kind of familiar with the consulting detective games. And the thing is, because there's probably more of them that's been out, and I don't know, and we don't know about them yet. It's the only thing I can say.
Yeah. It's a genre that we had not entered as of yet.
No. Actually, it looks like this is the first one out. That this is pretty new.
Oh, okay. Well, then that's why we have not entered it yet.
Yes. Yes, that's what it looks like, but... Okay, so it was released in 2015, is what it looks like.
So last year.
No, 2 years ago.
No, 2 years ago. God dang.
December of 2015. So it is actually just about a year old.
Yeah.
They announced the Jack the Ripper expansion. They were working on it in August of that year. Of last year. So it had been quite a while, and then they brought this out just now. So that's their first adventure, basically, beyond the normal one, is what this is.
Right.
Cool. Yeah, definitely. And apparently they do want to do more, which is cool. So I'm, maybe it's something to look into because it does seem like a very cool type of game.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's something I like Sherlock Holmes. It's a very interesting series, and I think you could do a board game really well.
Yeah, and I think they're taking on the concept of the board game very simply. They're making it very like a role-playing board game, I'd call it.
Right.
Because it does involve more interaction between the players and taking on things in a very interesting manner.
Yeah, I would definitely like to try this out.
Yeah, so there's definitely been some very cool board games that have come out this week, and definitely interesting ones to check out. I would, again, maybe sometime on a stream or something we can figure it out. We'll have to see about that. That's always a challenge, is figuring out something like that. All right, so why don't we move on? We're trying to chugging through the topics here a little bit.
Yes, we are.
Maybe I can always check. No, I don't want to close that. I can always check if there's been an email that can provide us with some suggestions or a question. Extra question there.
What is the meaning of life?
The answer is no. So everybody that's watching this, either now or on the VOD, just know, discussingtabletop@yahoo.com. Send us a question that we'll discuss, or a topic if you want to hear about us talk about something. Especially if it's something that's come out that we haven't talked about. We definitely will be willing to add things in. We're good guys like that.
Yes, we always are willing to talk about interesting topics.
Very true. There is another topic that I can add in before our last one, because our last one's a very quick one I want to go over. There was a topic I was thinking about discussing, if I can find it. Oh!
Well, I know one I know what the last one is. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, there was a couple. Yeah, you know what the last one is. First off, if you hadn't noticed, Black Star's Beckons came out, The Last of Strange Aeons. It finished up.
Ooh.
I know. We did talk about, playing in this Lovecraftian world, but they finally finished up the adventures, and they took it in a very interesting way, it seems like, from the summaries without actually reading the full adventure. Because it's supposed to be some kind of, like, alien planar metropolis, which the adventurers find themselves on, which is sort of connected to Galarion somehow, and you have to disconnect it. So that's actually kind of different than I actually imagined it ending up, because you don't hear the words alien planar metropolis very often.
No.
So they took it in a very interesting and unexpected direction, from what I can see.
Cool.
Mm-hmm. But that was only a little thing. The big thing I wanted to talk about was because I did just start trying to mention them, Starjammer came out. Now, you're asking, what the heck is Starjammer? Well, Starjammer, other than a fictional group from Marvel Comics, is something that the D20 PSFRD came out with. It's one of their products. So it's technically third party, and they just released their primary book for it. It's their take on taking normal Pathfinder through technology and space. So rather than with what's it called? God, Starfinder. Rather than with Starfinder, which is basically an evolution of the series and a new book in and of itself. This one's supposed to be compatible with Pathfinder.
Okay.
Sorry, choking a little bit. Probably not the best liquid to drink down.
No choking for you.
Mm-hmm. It's got feats, rules for using skills in space, factions, unique rules for crew members, racial and class features, some new races, race options, class archetypes, a lot of stuff. Spells, equipment, planets.
Cool.
Yeah. So, I find it... Because the thing is, it's technically the PSFRD is the one publishing it, it looks like.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. that they're like when you link to the product page, it goes to the D20 PSFRD. And they've just released their sort of core book of it. It's
That's cool.
It's a 200-page book too, but and they are advertising for some more stuff already, in their little advertisements. But we've seen third-party stuff before, and I haven't talked about it up until now. I actually mentioned some third-party stuff in Gathering the Roll. I sort of had ignored it up till then, but I'm kind of going in the thing of, if someone's talking about it and I can find out information on it, I'll talk about it,
Right.
Sometimes it's not always easy to gather all that information in one place. Gather that. Ba-dum-bump.
No pun intended.
Oh, a pun was exactly intended for that one there. I went really hard into that pun there. I was like, you know what? Pun. Just going for it. Pun.
You're so punny.
I am. Puns a lot. That's not very good. That should have been thanks a lot. But still, whatever. English is a language.
English?
Yes. It's a powerful language.
I think you need to take some more ranks in linguistics, sir.
Nope. Sorry. It's like my character from last night. I will never take a rank in linguistics. It would be out of character to do so. I will complain every time someone doesn't speak common to me.
So you're American, are you?
Probably. I'm an American hobgoblin. I'm an immigrant. I've immigrated. I was as a young child, I was taken to America to be an American hobgoblin.
An American hobgoblin in London?
I took my human wife, and I'm going around and talking about how the core rules are the common language is the common language we should all speak.
Unlike my character who speaks like 15 different languages.
Or Poiriers, both of you. You're like language whores.
I'm also a tribes person, which is really funny because I have my own tribal language.
Yep. I've done that
before. I
before.
speak a bunch of other ones.
Yeah, I've done that before. I've been like, I probably would have a random made-up language that doesn't actually exist as my main language. Or if I don't make it up, something so obscure, it would be like, well, it's obscure language, yeah. Totally someone would use this, and it's totally going to be important. It's for character development.
Well, for me, like I figure I come from a tribal society. They probably have some kind of, I'm thinking it's probably like a mixture of Elven and something. I don't know what yet.
Elven mixture? You're just weird.
What's the air language?
Orin.
Maybe it's Elven and Orin since they worship like a hawk god.
Hawk god. Caw!
Hey, you haven't met my avian yet.
I have not. I wasn't planning on it anytime soon. Though it could just show up because I don't control that.
It's gonna show up.
Because saying that I don't plan on that doesn't mean anything because
I'm the one in control.
You're the one summoning it. Yes.
Well, considering the sewers have been large enough for things like that to fly around in, it might show up.
Might be helpful too, because then we can get out of the sludge. Because sludge is unpleasant.
Yes. Sludge is unpleasant, especially when you have creatures that can walk on it.
But anyway, yeah, I like the idea of Starjammer, because granted, I feel like it's going to be somewhere in between what Spelljammer was to D&D and what Starfinder is going to be. I feel like it's going to sort of be in the middle of that from the sounds of it. Granted, I think getting a copy of the book and like actually using it or reading through it more might give us a better idea, but about where it exactly fits in.
Right.
Because it does seem like it has an interesting mixture, because it still is mixing magic and some sort of science. So, definitely cool. And the races look kind of interesting, too, that they're introducing. Apparently they have a shape-changing ooze race a grease that is good at Magitech, and a beetle-like hive race with a wealth of genetic variations. Oh, and some guys that are half human, half alien nomads. So they have 4 races they introduced.
Cool.
Yep. So Starjammer, it is out now. You can check it out if you wish. It does seem like an interesting one. So why don't we move on to our last topic briefly before we move on to stories from the table and, of course, gaming sage advice. I did want to briefly mention the Pokemon trading card game.
Yeah.
So, I have
Keep
nothing
your
against
pocket monsters to yourself.
I have nothing against it whatsoever. It has existed. As I confessed to last week, I did have some of those cards in the early days. So I am experienced with it. I haven't played in like decade or so. So I mean, actually probably more than a decade. Because I literally was for the early sets and then I stopped. Because I was like, I had one trading card game, I didn't need a second. I think that was one of the main attitudes. And I don't think I liked the game system as much as I liked Magic's game system, but...
Plus, who do you still know that plays it?
At the time, I sort of knew folks that were playing it. Now, yeah, oh god, I don't know who plays it. There might be some people... Well, I asked Rob what card games he plays. He's the only unusual one that I thought would do.
Yeah, he's the only one I would think that might. You're right.
Though I have some stories about him I probably shouldn't share online that I will have to tell you after we're done this. Just remind me. I've got some Rob stuff.
We'll rob it up a notch.
Yes, we'll rob it up a notch. He's an interesting friend of ours. That's a quandary wrapped in a enigma wrapped in a beard.
Yes. Wrapped in another beard.
Yes. So, so they updated the rules, which, I mean, it's perfectly fine because they put out the Sun and Moon expansion. And they wanted to sort of, you know... It seems like with the rulebook update, they changed... They brought a change to the special condition burned. That goes into effect then. Apparently, they've already been using it in pre-release tournaments for the Sun and Moon expansion. So this is like they've already sort of been instigating this change in this condition. I don't know enough about the original condition, because I don't remember it from the original game, to tell you how it's changed from the information that's provided about what the change is. But it comes into play what I wanted to talk about for this actual topic, which is your cards have abilities on them. And granted, like, if you're talking about an individual card, you might get errata. There are plenty of errata for Magic the Gathering cards. A lot of older cards have their types changed. Like, Battle Squadron. It's a goblin now, you know? It's technically supposed to be goblins in a ship. I think it was just ships before was this type, and now they're like, no, it's supposed to be goblins piloting ships, you know? So they've changed that like that. But this is changing an entire condition. My example, which I was trying to explain this idea to Joe, is like if Magic, this is not like go to say, if Magic decided to cause some kind of change to flying. Now, I'm not saying it's going to be a major change, but just something small about it that alters the way it works, maybe just a little bit. I have no idea how they would do that, but, yeah. It's just something small that they could change one of the rules for something, or like, first strike only applies to one creature. Yeah. There you go. Like, if they did that. It's still first strike, but they've changed the way it intrinsically works. That, I think, is the example that I'm looking to. That they... Again, it might be very subtle, because I can't compare the two rules right in front of me.
Okay, I have it pulled up right now.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, they've actually changed it somewhat often. because there's Generation 1, Pokemon Stadium, Generation 2, 3 through 5, Generation 6, Generation 7. Each one of those times they have changed how burn works.
Really?
Yeah.
So they just can't make up their mind.
They haven't been like major changes, but slight changes. Like how it works now, apparently, is if Pokemon is burned, it will lose a set amount of HP every turn, and its damage dealt by physical moves will be halved. The burn status is associated closely with fire type, blah, 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 blah. The original one in Generation 1, Pokemon takes damage equal to 1/16 of its maximum HP every turn.
Okay.
At the end of the turn, or at the end of the turn if it didn't attack. Pokemon Stadium, they changed it to if an already burned Pokemon is switched in, it will not lose HP in the same turn. Haze will remove it, blah, blah, blah. Generation 2, same as Generation 1, but a burned Pokemon now takes damage equal to 1/8 of its maximum hit points instead of 1/16. Generation 3 through 5 was a change. Burn now technically halves damage a burned Pokemon does with physical moves. It does not reduce damage by moves that deal damage. Blah 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 blah.
Yeah. All I knew about it for this update is they're saying between turns, put 2 damage counter on the burned Pokemon, then flip a coin.
Yeah, now it's a steady damage instead of a percentage, because then in Generation 7 they changed it back to 1/16 maximum hit points again.
Oh god!
So they seem to change how burn works back and forth and around and round.
Wow.
At least this one seems like it's less math involved.
Oh my god, yes. So this is a good change, but still.
Let's see, 1/8 of your hit points. No, 1/16 of your hit points.
I don't know how they get away with that. It's like, I hear this and it hurts my brain. When I think about, with Magic, they've done small changes here and there. Like, sometimes they've made keywords, or if they've decided to get rid of keywords, things like that. Yeah. But
they've never normally altered the ability. It's more of, oh, well, it's popular enough, we're going to make it a keyword, so instead of writing the ability fully out, you know what it is by its name.
Yeah.
They normally don't, it's not normally like, oh, well, flying's working completely different now.
Well, I think they have changed a few things, like they've added the keyword, like they've added the term when something dies,
Right, but again, that's a keyword. It really didn't change how things worked. They added a keyword. That isn't that difficult. It's just like, okay, so instead of spelling it out, we're just going to have a word for it. And you learn the key words. I think I'm modifying the rules completely every time.
I think Magic did have something like this. I almost forgot all about it. But banding. They forgot about banding because they kept trying to figure it out and modify it until it worked.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything with banding in a long time.
Yeah, they got rid of it. They decided that it was never coming back because it was such a headache. It confused people, and they constantly tried to refine the rules on it to make it make sense more. And it never quite did for whatever they wanted to do. It was always too complex.
See, there's the difference. Wizards learns from their mistakes.
But I can't not blame Wizards, because I know from previous research, Wizards was the first one to publish some of the Pokemon cards. They did the first couple of sets.
Damn Wizards.
Not to say that someone didn't have influence on them, but you have to remember there was some crazy crap in early days of Magic that they've gotten rid of too.
Like I said, they've learned from their mistakes. There was a lot of weird crap they introduced. They still introduce weird crap now and then, and sometimes it takes off, sometimes it doesn't. But they're willing to learn from it, where it seems like Pokemon just keeps rolling with it now.
Well, that's the thing is, like, it's probably from that weird I was still learning period in Wizards history that they probably came up with something like this. And now Pokemon's like, well, it's been here since then. We'll get it right eventually. My god.
1/16 of your hit points. I don't know what that is off the top of my head. Let me pull out a calculator.
At least the 1/8 would have been a little easier.
Even that, still, it's just like, no.
Yeah.
And it's of your current hit points, though, not your total hit points.
Really? You can't die from it?
Well, maybe I'm speaking offhand. Let me double check myself. Give me a second.
Thank you for looking that up, because that was needed for this insanity. God.
Okay, so here it is. Oh, no, of its maximum hit points, sorry. So it doesn't change.
Okay, great. Yeah, that helps a lot better. That's at least something. You know, when I decided on this topic, I didn't know it was going to be this interesting. It actually is. Oh my god.
And I hate Pokemon, and I actually looked it up just to be like, okay, let's not talk out of our butts. Let's
See. We actually were able to get this, like, oh my god, this is insanity. But at least it's insanity we know about.
And apparently you could wrest fire away. Put me back in my ball. I'm going to wrest this fire out.
From my knowledge of the game, they can occasionally, like, it just ends. But I don't know. I guess that's the coin flip that's involved with it nowadays. Or if there was always a coin flip and I just didn't know about it.
No, it doesn't mention a coin flip in the earlier ones. So they added coin flipping. Yay.
Well, Magic had coin flipping too, but they decided they decided they're going to ignore it. They haven't banned it or anything. Well, no, I don't think they've banned it. They just sort of ignore coin flipping at this point in time.
Yeah, the decrease in attack doesn't disappear when... Oh, no, it doesn't disappear when the Pokemon is cured through rest. So, no, you can't rest it away.
Ah.
Which is a good thing, because that'd be kind of weird. I'm going to sleep and just imagine this fire is gone now.
I'm not on fire. I'm not on fire. I'm not on fire. I'm on fire. I'm okay. Please, please, I'm okay. I'm not on fire anymore.
Why?
It gets me curious now. Curious as to how it's changed. Like, how other ones have changed.
Well, like I said, apparently there's, like, 7 generations of rules.
Yeah, which, I mean, I could see it happening.
And given the fire changed that much, what else has changed then?
Okay.
Let's see, there's fire, flying, dark, ice, psychic, water, normal, shadow. The shadow.
The thing is, like, from what I remember, they only had, like, so limited amounts of types. Like, they kept it very simple in the early ones, and then it kept deciding to add in more of the actual types of them, you know? So it's sort of like, they're going up to, like, you have 15 different types or something, which is what the Pokemon have now, while instead, like, I think in the original cards, it was, like, 7, to keep it simple.
Yeah.
It actually might have been 5. No, it was like 6 or 7, because there was, like, normal, which could be anything, you know? It was supposed to be, like, the colorless mana in Magic.
Burn got nerfed. No kidding.
Yeah, I found some more information, too, that apparently once it was burned, it got a burn marker prior to the set, and you must flip a coin in between turns. If it lands on tails, it takes... Well, now it takes 2 damage counters. Under some conditions, the burn may be increased by effect or attack or ability or something else.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Crazy.
Okay, so I'm also seeing another one. There's several conditions that got changed.
Maybe. Oh, okay, wait. I think you might have been looking up... Now, this is just a thing. You might have found the actual Pokemon game burned, because what I'm reading about here.
Oh.
Not that it's much better.
Okay. I just looked up bird status condition.
Yes. I think that's the actual Pokemon one that we're getting crazy about. So it's less math, fortunately.
Okay.
Okay. Alright. So the big change is your coin flip cures you.
Oh.
Yes. That's the huge change. That your beforehand, if you made the coin flip, you don't receive damage, but you're still burned.
Okay.
And apparently it wasn't a recognized special condition for a long period of time, too.
Ah.
So it was very magic-based.
I'm sorry that I looked up the wrong thing, apparently.
That's fine, but it was hilarious.
And apparently that must be for, like, the
video game.
Well, the problem... Which still is ridiculous.
No, they changed it every time. They're like, we can't make up our minds.
Gotta burn them all.
Oh, God.
Can we burn them all, please?
No.
I'll give you $1.
No. No, because, so, yes, but still, that's still a rapid change in between it. That you're like, beforehand, it's something that you had to probably use, like, a special card in your deck, or some kind of special ability to get rid of, or the resting thing to sort of ignore. Now it's sort of like, well, coin flip, I can get rid of it.
Apparently they changed Paralyzed, too.
Yeah, they've changed a lot of stuff.
But whatever, I don't play that.
Homie,
don't play that.
I don't think I would either in its modern incarnation, just because it's like when I look into something like Spellfire, which is an extinct game, cards are usually cheaper, and you have a end to what's existing. This will keep making more, and I already have a game that I collect cards from and get cards from that will never end, at least as long as it continues to be popular as it is.
The never-ending card game.
They still are heavily popular. Like Magic's gone through like so many attempts for it to die off that it's managed to live through.
Yeah, I mean, I've quit several times because of things coming out that I completely disagreed on, and I'm like, no, this is nerfing this is overpowering the game. I'm out. And then it fades away and I come back.
Yeah, then your anger fades away, you come back and you're like...
Well, or the thing fades away.
Yes. Either the thing fades away or the mechanic just... we both sort of disliked the equipment and thought it was stupid.
Yeah, I did not like equipment when it first came out. Because it's like, no.
Now it's just sort of like, eh.
Yeah, I was just like... That's what an enchantment is.
Yeah, it kind of took the place of an enchantment. They sort of have distinguished between enchantments and equipment just the way that they do things now, and it's understandable.
Right. But it was originally my thought it's a reusable enchantment, basically. That's kind of BS.
Yeah.
It used to be you killed the creature, the stuff went with it. And also, I didn't like Planeswalkers when they first came out.
Planeswalkers still are a
hit
tough
or miss.
Thing. Mm-hmm. Because some of them, I feel...
overpowered?
Yes, there are some that are pretty ridiculous in their abilities. Like there's others I can sort of claim as to being ridiculous, but not the most ridiculous thing in existence.
Right.
Like, we've previously... Like let's talk about... the one Lilana, the one that can take control of an opponent's turn. Well, you're like, well, that's pretty powerful, but I'm like, well, they have put out actually a whole bunch of stuff that allows you to do that. It's just in Planeswalker form, which is a little worse in a way, because you can technically get it back again.
Yeah, it's replayable, which is like, I dealt with it already. I don't want to deal with it again.
Granted, most of the time, the ones that are that powerful, some of them are at least, like, it has a very ridiculous effect, but it's hard to get to it. Like, you have to get to, like, 12 loyalty counters, and you get one a turn. Well, then you're like, well, you have, like, even if it starts at 4, you have 8 turns to deal with this problem,
Right.
While on the other hand, if it's like, you have to get to 8, and you start at, like 4, and you can get 2 loyalty counters a turn to get this effect. Of like, well, 3 turns, I can get that then.
Right. Well, I also had that reaction, I think, with ninjutsu, is it?
Oh, the one where you can switch creatures out? I like
Yeah.
ninjutsu, but it's kind of, it's a weird sort of lame ability.
Well, but it's kind of a dickish ability because it's just like, okay, I know what I'm dealing with. No, I don't. It kind of brought in a what the hell's going on part of the game, and it ticked me off at first.
The only thing I could say
And
about...
it didn't stay around.
No, because it's a Kamigawa ability,
Yeah.
and they kind of, unfortunately, most of them and their concepts died off. And I can't say ninjutsu is horrible, but it's like fortunate most of the things that had it weren't particularly ridiculous creatures. Is the only thing.
No, but it was the people I ran into who used it were normally really annoying players already. And it just gave them more of an annoyance, and it was just like, I don't want to play you anymore. Go away.
And I can't confess to not having my own ninja deck from the Planes Chase deck that I modified, but I played it off the way that, it's meant to be kind of played, which it mixes blue-black unblockable creatures with ninjas. Because you're like, well, I'll just switch them out with something that does a little bit more damage. You weren't going to block it anyway. If I have something in my hand, you're going to expect something a little larger coming.
Yeah. Well, that's just like, there's certain decks that friends have that I know I don't like playing against. Like Poirier's Time Warp deck.
Yep. Yeah, he has refined that down in such a way that he's meant to get
infinite amount of turns, and it's just like, well, that's kind of breaking the system.
It's made to do that. I don't mind putting infinite turns in a deck, but usually it's not the focal point of it when I do it. Like, my artifact deck can do it, but that's just sort of like, oh, I got the stuff out to do that.
Right, where his is designed to do that.
Or like my blue deck, it could be like...
I have a counter spell when he happens to draw that stuff, you're screwed.
Yeah. Yeah, same thing. Like my blue deck, I could be like, oh, well, I got the stuff I need for it. Infinite turns. Ah.
That or the cat deck.
Its cat deck is interesting.
I mean, there are ways to defeat it, and it's fine now, but when he first came out, it was just like, what the heck?
Yeah, the thing is, I think it's an interesting combination of stuff, and it's some very expensive stuff, too, which I don't think I've combined any deck quite that way myself.
Yeah, I don't have the money to sit there and be like, I'm going to build this deck because it's awesome. I normally just get cards and build what I can. Occasionally, if there's like a really specific card that I think would fit a deck really well, I may spend a little extra money for that. But I'm normally not that kind of player that goes, really want a certain card, I'm going to go out and just buy that card. I think the only card right now that I would do that for would probably be the one that you got.
Yes, the one that, the Kaladesh, or I'm sorry, the Aether Revolt one, that you can spend money to turn a vehicle into a creature rather than crew. Or not money, mana.
Yes. Because that's really
Spend
cool.
money.
It's like, spend money. Here's $5.
Become a creature.
Bribe.
Bribe.
Ability, bribe.
Bribe. Here you go. Have $5. Become a creature.
I don't know how that works.
Throw money at it. You're like, yeah. That's not to say. I think there is actually a bribe ability in Magic the Gathering. There is a bribery.
Okay.
Oh well, it's an actual card. Okay.
Yeah, that's an actual card. That's not. That's completely different than. I'm giving you money.
Oh no, there's bribery counters.
What? Where the hell was that from?
From Conflux. There was a creature, Gwafta Hazard Profiteer. I own him because he's not that expensive. He puts bribery counters on a creature you don't control. Its controller draws a card. Creatures with bribery counters can't attack or block.
Okay.
But so he's like a white blue.
Don't
Yeah.
let my people through.
Yeah, well, it's basically like it's a white and a blue tapping him, and you put a counter on something. The person you put it on gets a card, but you're like, I can just, it's like I can put counters on your stuff to make them basically be an enchantment, but you get something out of it.
Yeah.
It's not. He's powerful, but he's not so powerful because that drawing a card might screw you up sometimes.
Yeah. Ooh, I got Fireball.
Yes, Guafta dies, and probably something else too. Yeah. And you're not in any better position for the like 1 or 2 creatures you manage to bribe out of existence.
Yes.
He has his moments, but again, it's all situational.
Yeah. And the original card, Bribery, you get to take something from someone's deck.
Yep. Oh, I love those cards. They're dick cards, but I do like them.
Hey, I got your Time Warp.
That's why I like the ability in my straight blue deck to cast, what is it? The Blue Wind from Prophecy, the one that removes 7 cards from an opponent's library from the game. Because then I have ways to recast things. Because then I'm like 7 more cards, 7 more cards, 7 more cards. I can keep this up all day.
Counter.
That probably would stop it temporarily. I think exiling it from my graveyard would be the best bet. Or exiling my entire graveyard.
I exile everything. Go away.
You use Karn and play sub-game of Magic?
Yes.
Oh, no, that's replaying the game of Magic.
Some game. That is some game.
That was Shahrazad. It was Karn that you played a new game of Magic, and you possibly got the cards that you exiled.
Oh, look, another sub-game of Magic. What do you think about this? That's when you're just like, I quit.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think off the topic of card games now.
Yes, let's move on from there, because we did do a pretty good
tangenty.
Very tangenty. Oh my god, we went tangenty. All right. Let's start stories from the table for this week. I wanted to talk about... I might have talked about this topic before. A little bit. But I thought about this week because it might be going more in depth. What was your favorite role-playing game-based video game? And why don't we talk a little bit about them?
Okay, that's out of left field.
Sorry, I didn't have it for you earlier because I came up with it just right before the show and didn't have a chance to mention it.
Role-playing game, video game.
Something like
Neverwinter Nights.
Yep, Neverwinter Nights. It's a great one.
I love those. All of them were... It was an entirely great series. And we got some great quotes out of it.
Yes. Here comes Halfling Death. And there was this bright light, and my mother was there, and it was like, yoink, not now, stupid.
Or, why does that master never take boots off in bed?
Oh, yeah. Deacon the Kobold.
Deacon was a great character.
Yeah, Deacon Scale Singer, because he was a Kobold Bard. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's like impossible. It's impossible to find quotes from him, though, for some odd reason.
Huh. That's weird.
Yeah, he was in Shadows, Hordes of the Underdark, and Neverwinter Nights too. I remember trying to look up his quotes, and I just could not find them.
Also, the Cyberpunk games were good.
I never did any of the Cyberpunk games.
Cyberpunk games were pretty good. There's actually a couple that's now on the phone. They're like 8-bit graphics, but they're fun. Or Vampire. That's one I played a lot of. Vampire the Masquerade. For the PC. That was a really good story.
Oh, you mean Bloodlines?
Bloodlines, yes. Thank you.
It has been suggested to me to play that on stream, but I have to get it still. And probably get the patch for it that it works then.
I might still have it.
Like a physical copy?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Because I owned it. I might still have it somewhere. Okay. That's one of those games that you don't just throw away.
I have to commend this person because someone apparently on Twitter created an account just for quotes by Deacon.
Yes.
And as a hero makes their way, the faithful kobold discovered that his underwear was riding much too tightly. Aw, Deacon would call you the greatest boss ever, if you ask Deacons to. Wow. Oh my, Deacon quotes are the best.
Yes, I just found that page.
Deacon quotes are the best. Tommy quotes are pretty good too, but I mean,
Deacon's
quotes
better.
It's true. The boss and Deacon, faithful kobold companion, continue their voyage. The boss pretends not to notice that Deacon recently passed gas.
Yes, Deacon very kobold. Last Deacon look in mirror. Deacon not do that much. Mirror's usually too high for Deacon.
Wow. Deacon quotes.
There's actually a Neverwinter Nights 2 quote page.
The thing is, like, I wanted the Neverwinter Nights 1 ones because those are the ones I remember, because I never played the second Neverwinter Nights. I don't know if you did.
Yeah, I played the whole series.
Okay.
I think I might still have the whole series. Might. I have to look.
I know I would have the original Neverwinter Nights, though who knows if I would be able to get it to work on anything like this, at least, my system. Doubts. Yeah. I like gnomes, so dumb and fat. Fat and dumb. It burrows like moles. Shoot 'em full of arrows. Put 'em on a stick. That's why I like gnomes. Wow. Thank you, Deacon. Oh, Deacon.
Put 'em on a stick. That's why I like gnomes.
There was once a wizard from Thay who never had time to play. His patience eroded until his head exploded, and the stain never quite went away. Wow.
Oh, Deacon.
Wait, well, that's a waste of a true name, if you ask Deacon. How much did you spend again, boss? Spend on that again. Wow. All right, I'm gonna be done with Deacon quotes from now, or I'm gonna be there all day. Oh my god. Trying to find like the Doom song. Doom, 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 doomy, doom, doom, doom. Or I still have to find the one about that Deacon said to me. It's like, Deacon wonder why Master never bathe.
Mm-hmm.
I think there was a little more to it there, but it was like, wow.
Well, the boots one I always loved, because it's true. Whenever you went to sleep, you kept your boots on, or if you visit a house of ill repute.
Mm-hmm.
It was just like, I will strip everything else but my boots.
Yep.
Why? And that also made me wonder, does that mean Deacon's just hanging out in the room while you're there?
Yeah.
Deacon's a pervert.
But there's so much about the original Neverwinter Nights. Granted, popping up the difficulty or using the cheats, which I think our friend Chad liked to do a lot. Now, I can't confess to not doing that too, to like doing max level and ridiculous things like that. But the random stuff you find in barrels, that like if you max out your level with the command codes at right away, and then you like go and search a barrel in that first area, equipment levels with you, especially if you have Hordes of the Underdark, which allows you to go epic level. So I could be like level 30 or 40, I forget what it was.
Oh my god, that's horrible.
And then you're
I'm sorry, I'm still looking at quotes.
Then you're like, ooh, +5 axe in a barrel. Who left this here? Like +5 flaming vorpal blah 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 axe. It's like a +10 weapon. It's just in a barrel, and you're like, ooh. It never made sense to me. It was so ridiculous.
Woohoo! Yeah, I know. It's like random stuff in a barrel. It's like, why would someone put that here?
Oh, it was wonderful though. Oh.
Yeah, it's like the greatest weapon in the game, just stuck in a barrel.
In like the first area.
What? Why? Not that I'm complaining, but why would you do that?
Because they could. But Neverwinter Nights is a good one. Yeah, it's a good one. I think mine, I have to call it out to probably Dungeons & Dragons Warriors of the Eternal Sun, because that's my first big actual Dungeons & Dragons-based video game I did. Granted, that's around the same time I did Shadowrun. Both of them are Sega Genesis games. And I've done Warriors of the Eternal Sun on the stream a little bit before.
Oh, do you know what? No, I said Cyberpunk earlier. I meant Shadowrun. My brain is dead.
Yes.
Yeah, and they actually have some newer Shadowrun games out for like phone games that are actually still 8-bit, but they're pretty good.
There's one for the actual computer, which is decent. That's actually based on it's like building tools for Shadowrun Adventures. I have not actually looked into it. It'd be interesting, but I don't have the time to like create custom things like that. It's hard enough writing stuff out, let alone customizing a world in video game format, you know?
Yeah.
Not that you couldn't probably find someone that's made something and used it. Maybe an option one of these days, but I mean, I saw it and it looked cool, and I've heard good things about it, and that's about it.
Yeah, I've tried some of the phone ones for Shadowrun, and they're still they hold up well.
Good to know. Yeah, Shadowrun's a pretty good system too. Yeah, but Warriors of the Eternal Sun was fun. You know, it's a interesting story exploring a strange land, facing monsters. You know, usual Dungeon Dragon stuff. A lot of level grinding is the only complaint I have about it. It really is one that pertains to level grinding a lot more. But then again, those early ones kind of feel like they did anyway. Because like the Sega Genesis Shadowrun, you needed to grind so much in that game.
I'm trying to remember the D&D one that was... Oh, there it is. I have it right here. Demon Stone. That was another good one for the PS2.
Demon Stone, yes.
Was Forgotten Realms.
Hey, I am the beholder for Super Nintendo and PC. Apparently it's better on PC. I had the Super Nintendo copy of it. There were a lot of surprising D&D games on early PC. Because I was watching some of Pro Jared's D&D December.
Mm-hmm.
Clever name there, you know? And he was just doing classic, like really classics, you know, like 80s computer games ones. Which they were some really interesting ones, but it's like, man, not only is the system a little bad itself, it really reflects AD&D, which was kind of bad too when you look back at it.
Advance this, Mark. And then, another good one for PlayStation, going with PlayStation 2, going with D&D, Baldur's Gate: Dark Alliance.
Can't forget the Baldur's Gate series.
That was a good one. I remember playing that all the way through with people. Because I think that one was multiplayer.
Might have been. There was a couple of them that could have been played multiplayer.
Yeah, 1 to 2 players. I think you and I played this at some point.
We didn't finish it.
No, but I think we played it, is what I'm saying.
Yes. All right. Now that we've reflected on mostly D&D video games, because most of them tend to seem to be D&D video games, let's move on to our Gaming Sage advice for this week. Now, remember, everybody, if you want to, of course, leave your own questions for Gaming Sage advice or own suggestions for a topic, please, either you can put them in the comments of the VOD, put them in the comments of Gathering the Roll, or email us at discussingtabletop@yahoo.com. We'll get any of those. We'll get your questions. We will answer them for you, or your topics, and we will add them into the list. As you can see, we added some topics on the fly this week.
It's all good. We work that way.
We added, 2 in, technically, sort of?
That's fine.
Hey, it made us have 7 topics this week. It's almost as many topics as our last week, except these were smaller topics.
Yeah,
less discussion.
It allowed us to actually expand our time with the 2 added ones to a decent time.
Yes. We were way too ahead of schedule. Anyway, so So our gaming stage advice for this week pertains to you more than me, Joe. I know. What do you do as a player when you are joining a campaign in the middle of it, and you're not coming in for like a single session or temporarily?
Well, for me with this one, this one's what
Rise of the Rune Lords?
Rise of the Rune Lords. You guys are near the end of the second to last book, I believe.
Yes. Yep. We're at the end of the 5th book in the adventure path. One more book after here. So we are at the back end of the adventure.
Yeah. So unfortunately, it seems that there's been a loss of players due to multiple things. And I was asked if I'd be interested to shore up the party, basically. Because right now you guys have 2 people who are pretty much always there, and a bunch of people who are sometimes, occasionally there.
Yes, a large list of folks that are like, well, can we get one of them? Probably not, but whatever, we'll see.
Right. So you wanted to have at least a 3-person party to make it more viable, not to have NPCs making up the rest of it.
Yes.
So what I first did was I found out a bit about what has gone on so far. My main concern also was what roles have been taken in the party. What does the party really need? Because I'm a flexible person. I can try, I'll try out different roles and stuff like that. I can, fit into almost any of them. The only ones I really don't like is Paladin, because I just hate Paladins in general. Stuck-up people. And my only attempt to do it was an NPC Paladin, which failed horribly because everyone hated him. Because I played it as how I think Paladins are, and it was rather ire-worthy. Anyway, off that tangent. So I found out, what you guys had. You had a rogue, and you had a ranged fighter, which is you.
Yep.
So I'm like, okay, how can I round out this party a little bit more and still do something that's going to interest me? So I kind of dove into something that I never tried before. I went for a summoner. And on top of that, I went for one of the more specialized summoners, Broodmaster, which you can have more than one Eidolon. Mm-hmm. I'm sticking to 2. But I thought with that, one, you're getting someone who's arcanes focused. So you have someone who can cast spells. I designed an avian type Eidolon and a biped. So a humanoid type and a bird type. And I figured that'll help with the upfront fighting. And then with being able to cast summons and everything else, I can bring in creatures that have different abilities to help stir up the situations too. Like, oh, we need some healing. I'll summon something that can cast a healing spell. It gives us more range of what we have available to us. So that's, kind of the point I took it from, of trying to fill roles in the party that we really need it to be filled, and to kind of be away in a generalist because of being able to summon things like that. You kind of get some more general abilities and general fighting and everything else that you didn't have beforehand.
Yeah.
Now, the downside on joining something so late, you don't have the history with the party. And you're not going to be, it's not a character that you're going to be advancing a lot. So I think it's also important to try to give yourself a decent backstory, try to have some interesting things built in that the characters can learn about you, so you can get some camaraderie with the group, since you hadn't been there to build that up. Also, I think it also depends on how the GM handles the introduction, and that, it's not like too long of waiting of, okay, when am I showing? And Cindy did a good job of that last night. She had me control a helpful monster for the party, until I kind of was able to show up. The only downside is when my character did show up, I was pretty much stripped of like a good percentage of what I could do.
Yeah.
So I wasn't able to really kind of like shine and really show my usefulness to the party is the only downside I think of last night.
Yeah, true.
I mean, I was able to use my natural summoning skills to summon useful creatures. But I wasn't really able to, I wasn't able to bring out my Eidolons. I keep wanting to say it weirdly. I wasn't able to bring out my Eidolons, which are kind of like a big focus of mine. And I wasn't really able to utilize a lot of my spell casting because I didn't have any components either, because I was stuck in a cage in the middle of filth. But I think at least I did show myself useful enough to the party that, they're kind of willing to like, okay, we'll bring you along.
Yep. Which we didn't resolve very much after we found you anyway.
No, we picked the lock on my cage and kind of got me out and kind of left and we healed up our restoration needs. Because that was bad.
Yeah.
I hate ability drain.
Yeah, it's made to be annoying. I know.
Ooze. Bite. I inject ooze into you. Ugh. But I think it can be done. It's just you have to kind of come in that mindset of, I want to be prepared of my backstory. I want to have a decent backstory that the characters can learn about. So it's not just like this raw character coming in that has no connection to the team whatsoever, and the team's like, we don't know anything about you and you're not giving us much. Because then you're kind of the outsider completely. And I think it's when you're building the character, you do need to focus on what the team kind of needs, since you are coming in to fill a role instead of coming up with something maybe to start with.
Yeah.
So I think that's also the difference, is that you have to come in that mindset of, okay, I might not be playing something that I necessarily would have picked off the top of my head, but I'm coming in to fill the gaps that need to be filled for this team.
Yeah.
Which still can be enjoyable. You can still, like I did, you can still find a way to do that and still try, still try to make it a character that you're going to enjoy playing.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that is the balance that you have to consider when joining into a game that's been going on for so long.
Yep. Very true. Very true.
Did you guys have played this, 2 or 3 years?
Something like that, actually.
I know it's not. I know it hasn't been like clockwork, especially in the last 6 months, probably.
Yeah.
So progression has slowed down a lot, because I don't think you guys have played for the last 3 months at all.
Something like that. Well, no, I think we sort of had a little... It's been like 3 months since we seriously did something. No, I agree it's been like that long, unfortunately.
So, I mean, but I enjoyed coming in. I think it's going to be a fun character to do, even though it's going to be slightly short-lived.
Well, I mean, still probably got a couple of months of it.
Well, right. I'm saying slightly short-lived compared to the games I normally have done. That,
yes.
I start from the beginning normally with. I haven't done a lot of, I'm jumping in halfway through a game or 3/4 way through a game. But I'm still looking really, a lot forward to what I can get out of it. And I'm trying out something I've never played before, which is fun as well.
Yeah. So it's cool. Unfortunately, I think for this one, I don't have a lot of experience with sort of popping in like this myself. Not for long term, of any kind of long term, for multiple sessions. So, I mean... Did I have one? I can't remember a good game where I popped in the middle of. I really have to say.
Yeah, I don't think either of us have really done that, other than like maybe a session or something to be like, hey, I'm joining in for you guys, for a night or something.
Your microphone went off or something and changed.
Can you hear me now or no?
We can hear you, but you're muffled.
Okay, give me a second.
Yep.
Is that any better?
A little bit. You're low volume, but at least not muffled anymore.
Oh, there we go. How's that?
Still not there?
I don't know what else I can do.
Well, we'll finish up for today because we're reaching the end anyway, and we can worry about the technical issues post
Yes.
stream. All right, so, okay, everybody. If you noticed, I'm just about caught up on videos. I hopefully will keep up with the schedule for this week. We'll see. I did ran into some problems. Again, it's been a busy kind of couple of months. As you've seen, our role-playing games haven't been going. The businesses have reflected our own personal schedules too, which does not help us. So that has been something. So we will see that going along in the future. I'll try to keep the schedule up perfectly fine. Tomorrow will be, of course, another live stream late at night. I don't know what I'm doing yet. I'll let you know. We probably won't have another. We probably won't be having another multiplayer live stream because Winter Bear and Monoko are not free. It sounds like, so might be doing something else entirely.
Gotcha.
Let's see here.
I think I fixed my microphone issue.
It's still sort of there. You're still muffled, but you might have. You might have fixed the issue, but it might have reset on... Oh, it might have changed it in your settings for Skype right now.
Oh, yeah, true. Okay, well, anyway.
Yes, so you can't... It's like, it's hard to reset it in the middle of you doing stuff, because it reset it because it probably lost the microphone, the one microphone, and is using another one.
Yeah, well, the system had picked up the other microphone, and I just switched it back over. But we'll worry about that after. Sorry.
It's okay. So schedule should be about normal on videos. There should be some big announcements, I hope, this week about role-playing games. I'm talking to a bunch of people about being guests on the show, on this one. Plus, I'm going to then talk to them about being people in my role-playing games when I'm starting them. I'm going to try to get as many recruits as possible for that ASAP. And I'm going to start, yes... Treasure of the Lost Legion should hopefully be coming soon. I know, yes, we sort of started it back in December. We haven't really had a serious thing for it up until now. It's been a couple of months, but things got crazy with everybody's schedules, and it's been hard for me to organize it. I'm going to try to get that done ASAP. So hopefully you'll be hearing something from that soon, or other role-playing games I might run here on Twitch. Of course, the VODs will go up on my channel on YouTube. I think that's it for today, then. Gathering the Roll will be Tuesday, or next week. Again, we should have some guests. So, I think that's it.
Guests!
Yes, yeah, guests. So I think that's it for this week.
Okay, well, have a good week, everyone.
And until the next time, we bid you farewell.